thank my colleague. Look forward to working with him on these issues. Senator Casey, you are next.
Mr. Chairman, thanks for calling this hearing. I want to thank our witnesses. I want to start with kind of where we've been over the course of 40 years. Due to the rigging of the tax code over roughly the last 40 years, our tax system over and over again intentionally favors those with very large incomes and often very large lobbying organizations, while the middle class continues to suffer from very limited, if any, tax relief. Just by way of example, between 2020 and 22, just those years, corporate profits rose 75%, five times as fast as inflation. I released a report this week called Greedflation, meaning major corporations taking advantage of customers by jacking up prices and blaming it on inflation or using inflation as the cover to jack up prices. The report shows that the average middle-class family in Pennsylvania was forced to pay an extra $3,200 in 21 and more than $3,500 in 2022 just because of this greedflation. One corporate executive claimed that his company, quote, earned the right, unquote, to raise prices. Another executive at a different company bragged that their products are, quote, worth paying a little more for, unquote, just seemingly oblivious to what real people are paying at the grocery store and otherwise. These same companies and their shareholders were given what I would argue were obscene tax breaks in 2017 through the bill, and so now they pay much less in taxes on the profits as they squeeze out of American families. So, Ms. Wong, what's the best way for Congress to ensure that businesses' high profits are being appropriately taxed so that we could redirect or reinvest those dollars into the middle class and put money back in the pockets of those families?
Yeah, so I've heard my colleagues here say that there's a problem with potential double taxation of both corporate income and at the individual level. But if you look at the data, the actual bigger problem is double non-taxation. Corporate profits not going taxed, and then the gains also not going taxed at the individual level. And as you say, the research shows that a large and growing share of those profits, at the very low end, estimates are about 60% of those profits, are from windfall rents, monopoly power, pure luck, those sorts of profits that are not sensitive to tax rates or to new investment. So it's really important to make sure that that income at both levels is subject to tax and subject to tax once.
Let me just conclude with one more question. Chairman Wyden recently discovered something troubling about millionaires in this country. Not only do we have a problem when wealthy taxpayers pay too little in taxes, sometimes they don't even bother to file a tax return at all. From 2017 to 2020, there were almost 1,000 Americans with incomes over $1 million who did not file their taxes at all. They didn't file anything. These taxpayers owed over $34 billion in tax penalties and interest as of May of 2023. If we collected those taxes, we could give $450 on average to every child in America. Mr. Pearl and Ms. Wong, could you talk about how we can make sure that this small group of less than 1,000 millionaires pays their fair share in taxes?
Well, yeah. I mean, we think the government, whether it's Department of the Treasury and the IRS or the Justice Department, needs to have the resources to enforce the laws and make sure that these 1,000 people out of the hundreds of millions in our country obey the laws, just like all of your constituents who have tax deduction from their paycheck every week. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thanks very much.
Colleagues, and I'll also say to those who are following this, Senator Casey is a very modest fella. And what he was talking about, again, was trying to ensure that there was